Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Apologies if the voice is a little bit croaky and a little bit deep at times. I had a bit of man flu in the last couple of days, so I'm going to sound a little bit like Phoebe in Friends when she tries to sing, was it Smelly Cat and something like My Sticky Shoes, I remember her singing. Yeah, I'm not going to sound like Barry White or anything like that, but yeah, it's going to be a bit croaky at times. See, I can't even say words, but we're going to try and get through it because I said I was going to do a video, try and do a little bit of a Q&A as well. There's a couple of little updates that we can talk about, but mostly about the questions that you've put in, which are some really good ones. I had a very brief look. You know, I don't like to look at them too much because I kind of like to try and do it almost as if I'm doing it live. It makes it a little bit more fun, which is kind of what it is, really. So, yeah. Oh, first off, again, thank you so much for the donations. Obviously, if you're not aware at this point, doing the TCS London Marathon next year, raising money for cancer research, and people have just been incredibly kind. It's very, very, very nice of you. Even since the last video, I had a little look just before I started this. £15,610 raised, which is just mad. I feel like I'm on some kind of telethon thing on the telly. It's like I did not expect to be anywhere near a fraction of that. 838 people have donated. It's very cool. Does massively put the pressure on me, which is a good thing. Although, even with man flu, I did a run today, which it was good for the fresh air. Probably not so good for my body, but we'll find out in the coming days. I'm on Strava, actually. I've signed up to that, which is quite cool. If you want to see the daft slow runs I'm doing, by all means, have a little look on there. And yeah, I'll pop the link in the comments again like I did last one, just because it's a really brilliant cause. It's a very good cause. I absolutely don't mind plugging that. I'm not the kind of person that plugs stuff, but for that, absolutely happy to do so. But hey, we're here about Tottenham. Just ahead of North London derby. Obviously, probably the main talking point right now ahead of that is injuries and things like that. Martin Odegaard is the key one really that's happened in the last couple of days for Arsenal. On international duty with Norway, very unpleasant looking kind of over on his ankle. We've seen that so many times with like Harry Kane and moments like that with Spurs over the past. Last thing I saw before I came onto this was about the Norwegian doctor suggesting it could potentially be 3 weeks or more, but we'll see. We'll see. The cynic in me, especially kind of bred into me with North London derbies, will not believe it until it actually is confirmed. You know, in my brain, my cynical Tottenham supporting since I was born brain, you kind of imagine, oh, they're all in on it. All the Norway players were in on it. They all were. It's a ruse. The crutches, he's probably threw them away as soon as he got on the plane. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it looked pretty, unpleasant. So, you know, with him and Declan Rice out of that midfield, that's two big losses for them. And obviously, kind of hands Spurs some of the midfield advantage, but this is Tottenham Hotspur. If there's ever a way to look a gift horse in the mouth, it is Tottenham Hotspur will do that. So yeah, absolutely not counting my chickens or cockerels or anything right now. I think there was some talk about Yves Bissouma possibly having an injury as well on Mali duty. I've seen differing opinions on that. I've seen it reported that he came off injured, but I've also seen reported by people watching the game that he was he had his foot trodden on, but apparently was fine and walked off absolutely okay when it was time to come off. And there's some kind of differing opinions on whether he was just meant to come off anyway. And yeah, I mean, we'll find out on Friday at the press conference. I'm not actually there. I'm missing the press conference because my nephew is getting married on Friday the 13th. So I'm there, but I will obviously be tuning in and I'll, of course, be at the game. But never like those games. Never like the games. We'll talk about that towards the end. I'm going to do a little bit again about the North London derby, and we'll talk about that. But I just thought that's probably the most topical thing. And of course, we're waiting to see with Dominic Solanke, Mickey van der Ven, probably the main two, as well as Richarlison, waiting to find out exactly what the latest is with them. I still hope, this is my hope, that, you know, we'll find out that hopefully everything that Postecoglou said about them being close for the Newcastle game, 2 weeks on, hopefully. They'll be okay for this and will have been training. Look, they're never going to show them in videos. If they have been, they are definitely not going to be in the videos. It's all part of the game. But we'll find out. I'll be just like everyone else. I won't be the one in there asking the questions. I shall find out from Hotspur way. Guesty's not either, because he's on a holiday. I think he's back soon, but I don't think he's available to go and cover that. But we'll have someone there. We'll have someone there, and it'll all come out anyway. Other thing I noticed before I did this, came on and did this, James Maddison has done. I think he's done the rounds. Often before a big game, a player is put up and they just do. Essentially, they sit in the press conference room. I know the backdrop. It's all dark, so it looks slightly different, but it is the press conference room. And I think they do the round of interviews with the broadcasters. So there was a Sky one I haven't watched yet, and I saw he did one with Optus Sport. The headline from the Sky one appeared to be similar. Some nice little bits in there. He was asked about, of course, Ange Postecoglou, Optus Sport, an Australian broadcaster. Maddison said he's someone who is very thorough in the way he wants to play, his philosophies, and he's got his ways. And to be fair to the lads, we've all bought into it well over the last year. Playing for Ange, you need to buy into his way and his philosophy of playing. I don't mind it, to be fair. I kind of think it can work like that, and that's just his way. We still have a great relationship in terms of professionally. He's still brilliant in the meetings. He gets the best out of us. His motivational stuff is amazing. It really makes you want to play for him and play well. I don't think it's a conscious thing he does. I think that's just the way he is. So when he gets going, and even if it's just a meeting for a game at the weekend to the whole group, you can tell how enthusiastic he is about football and winning. And to be fair to the gaffer, everywhere he's been, he's won silverware. So we have to trust him and believe his way. He's just very passionate about his job. He said before that he's at an age now where he could easily retire and go on to a lovely holiday and into the sunset. But he cares so much about winning and football that he's still doing it. And he's still hungry to get the best out of us and win more. That's enough of a golden nugget for us to believe and trust in him and come along on the journey with him. He was asked about trophies at Tottenham and that needing to be the thing. And he said, it's spoken a lot in the media here. It's a bit of a black mark against Tottenham's name in terms of silverware, and that's on us. That's our duty to try and change the history of recent times and try to get our hands on silverware. It's not a bad thing we should not talk about. The club needs to be winning trophies. A club of this size and the quality we have, we should be battling it out for trophies. But we have a good few chances with the Europa League, the Carabao Cup, FA Cup and the Premier League. Hopefully we can have a deep run in one of them. When all is said and done in your career, you look back on what you've won. Because he won, didn't he, Maddison? He didn't win the Premier League. I think he arrived the season after Leicester won the Premier League, but he won the FA Cup with them, I feel like I remember. I think he came off the bench in the final. I've got a funny thing, I remember him not starting. I think I looked that all up when he arrived at Spurs. And of course, he was asked about North London Derby. He said, just being around here, coming into work every day, and it's just living locally, and even just living locally, the build-up for North London Derby is a little bit different to other games. We know what it means, and having played in my first two last year, I know what it means to our fans and how in this part of the world, North London, the population is kind of split between Tottenham and Arsenal and bragging rights within families. Last year, I learned how much it meant for Tottenham to play against Arsenal and what it means to beat your local rivals. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. I was looking back. They've only, the 3-0 win under Conte was like the only win against them in 7 matches, I think it was. There was this weird kind of, not weird, but this period where it was almost like Arsenal would win at the Emirates, and at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or White Hart Lane, Spurs would either win or draw. Or sometimes the Spurs would would draw at the Emirates as well. But it was very much each side didn't expect to go to the other's place and win. It just wasn't happening so much. I think the last time before the last couple of seasons, Arsenal have obviously picked up a couple of results, but I think before that last time was 2015, if I remember correctly. So Spurs kind of need to go back to that. They need to make the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a bit of a fortress again. But yeah, we'll find out on Sunday. What else we got? Sergio Reguilon, got 2 more days for something to happen with him. Turkish window closes on 13th, Friday. We'll see. We'll see. It's one of those where I do wonder whether you end up getting to that situation where the player kind of thinks, well, I'm on very good money here. Is it not worth me just sitting out until January to see what's more available for me? I can sign up with people and get for the summer and get a hefty signing on bonus and things like that. And there's nothing you can really do about it. We've seen a few players do that at Spurs. They've kind of sat it out to the end of their contract. That's absolutely their right. from the outside, we're always like, don't you want to play? Don't you want to play? And it's a bit like, well, I'm earning mega money and other clubs can't pay me that money. Why would I just throw that away for the sake of extra minutes? Because, you know, Reguilon's probably not going to be in the Spanish side. He's probably not going to return to that kind of level. He might, but probably the odds are more against it than for it. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? He could end up in Turkey. Besiktas will link with him, and Fenerbahce and Mourinho obviously signed him for Spurs. You never know. But would it be the worst thing if he stuck around for the squad? Obviously, he's not in the Europa League squad. He could be in the Premier League squad. There's space for him in that, which, especially as we know, left back is an area where there aren't masses of people, and it would then allow Ben Davies to be more of a left-sided centre-back cover. I suppose it works in that regard. Do I see him as still the perfect Postecoglou inverted left-back? No. I don't know if I said this in the previous video or whether I said it on the podcast this week, but I don't think it's ever really truly worked with Reguilon, because this is purely my opinion. I don't think he contributes enough defensively, and I don't think he contributes enough in attacking sense. I think he threatens in both to be really good. Like, I remember kind of early on with Spurs, it was like, okay, he's actually a pretty good defender. He does a lot of good things. And then you could kind of see actually he had lapses in concentration, some issues. And at the other end of the pitch, he sometimes will fly down and you think, he's really going to do something special. And nothing comes of it. And that's kind of what I was told by the people that were covering Brentford last season as well, that he would kind of do that there as well. He would, like I say, threaten to do something and never did. But as cover, look, if he's got to stick around, I mean, whether Postecoglou kind of takes a stand, we'll see. But he did technically have Lloris in his squad, didn't he? After Lloris didn't go, he never used him, but he was there if needed. And maybe that's what will happen with Reguilon, that he will say to him, look, you've chosen to stay. You're not going to be in matchday squads unless we have an injury kind of situation. Then, we'll have a chat about it then, kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, that's not the worst way to kind of approach it, I suppose. And again, it's down to Reguilon at this stage. So that's Reguilon. A little bit about kits came out this week. Footy Headlines, if you've ever looked on there. It's a really good website for kit stuff. They get kit news really, really early. And in line with that, they've got some stuff about the home and away kits for next season, 2025-26 season. It's only colours. It's only a little brief thing, but I just thought it was quite interesting. Some people won't care in the slightest. But I mean, this is what is apparently coming along. The home kit, of course, will be predominantly white, as it normally is, but the colours as well on it are light grey, which is called light iron ore, the colour scheme, and dark binary blue. Dark binary blue for Nike is the sleeves that you see this season on the home kit. It's that colour. But yeah, that light grey is the second colour on it. So it may well be that the shirt is predominantly white and it may just be the tiniest little flecks of light grey down it. Apparently, if you want to see that colour, if this kind of thing really excites you, it's on the Atletico Madrid, one of their training tops. It's got these little cut-out shoulder bits, which are that colour. Maybe that's what they'll do with this with the Spurs home top for next season. We'll see. Away kit, apparently, it's going to be black, which we haven't had since 2014-15 season when it was Under Armour and we had that black and kind of yellow, like a faded stripe type thing on it. It wasn't quite stripes, it was like a pattern thing on it. But yeah, apparently it's got black, that light iron ore colour again as its secondary colour. So yeah, that was quite a cool kit. I think I vaguely remember it being that season. So yeah, I mean, look, don't get me even started on football kit prices, because I like to rant about that and how ridiculous it is that we get a new one every single season now when it used to be 2 years, and how much it costs for a family to buy a load of kits. But there you go. That's I'm not going to go down the road again. I've done that before. What else have we got? There's a little small thing. The Premier League released some of their stats this week, and there was one that just kind of caught my eye. The top 10 fastest players recorded in the Premier League this season, so that's the first 3 games. Spurs had 3 players in the top 10. Coming in at number 9, it's Sonny, clocked at 35.13 kilometres an hour. Coming in at number 7, I'm not going to do that all the way through. Mickey van der Ven, slightly faster, 35.17 kilometres an hour. And all the way up at number 2 was Timo Werner with 35.69 kilometres an hour. I mean, I'm sure Mickey van der Ven is faster. Maybe he just hasn't been required to race back at that speed that we've seen him do last season. As of yet, obviously, didn't play in the Newcastle game. If you're interested, the fastest person recorded this season so far is Erling Haaland, 35.74. There's various other little stats and bits and pieces. I did a little article on it this week of Romero's played the most, is up there in the top 2 or 3 for the most through balls this season. Maddison was up there with the most successful crosses. Sonny was up there with efficiency of shots. Look, we know what everyone will say about stats, and it is true to a degree that you can make them fit whatever you kind of want your argument to be by cherry picking which ones you're going to use. But also, I do believe there are certain stats that tell you certain things, and I wouldn't kind of always dismiss stats. I do think they're quite interesting to learn certain things about the game. But yeah, I mean, for Spurs to have 3 players in the fastest players list so far this season, I guess kind of shows what the way they kind of want to play under Postecoglou, I guess. I think they've got the most in there. I was just trying to think if anyone else has got more than 1. No, I think everyone else has just got the 1. I think Spurs, yeah, with the 3. So yeah, so that's that. This isn't going to be a long video, by the way. This is going to be a short one. Depends how many questions there are, but it's not planning to be a longer one. Yeah, just very quickly on the North London derby before I head into the questions. It is the game, you might remember me saying this in the past, that I hate to cover the most. I just don't enjoy it. It's the one game, or 2 games a season technically, or sometimes more if there's cups, it's one game or 2 games that I really, the fan side in me makes it painful. Because my whole kind of thing is that, yeah, I'm a Spurs fan. I was born a Spurs fan. I had no choice. I was always going to be a Spurs fan. But I'd like to think I'm quite good at still being objective. I can see, I don't see things through Spurs tinted glasses, hopefully, in kind of the highs and lows and being somewhere in the middle. But yeah, just reporting on North London derby, there's something about the anger within. I'm not saying that I'm not objective in my writing, but it's more just how annoyed I get, especially if they've lost, of what I know I then have to do with work. And I think that feeds into my enjoyment of the game. So it's very much like if they lose, it's like, oh, I've got a whole week. Aside from having the mickey taken out of me by colleagues and friends who are Arsenal fans, but also no, I've got to write about this rubbish for a week, and it really annoys me. And of course, do these videos as well. It's the one where, yeah, the fan stuff like seeps into my core, and I just don't enjoy them. I find them. I'm not someone that stresses. I'm not someone that worries about stuff. I'm quite a laid-back person. But in those games, just even the build-up and just waiting for the game to kick off, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen now? I am literally the guy wearing the, we're all doomed, end is nigh kind of stuff. I think I said that. Did I say that last? Oh, it was about the homegrown numbers and stuff. Yeah, but I'm like that with the North London derby stuff. I assume the worst. If anyone asks me for a prediction, I just go, no, because I'll probably end up jinxing it and making it even worse than it would have been. I just go in. I don't know whether that's just a thing, whether that's all Spurs and Arsenal fans when it comes to the derby go in with that attitude. I don't know, but I don't enjoy them. Even I think maybe second half of that 3-0 one under Conte was probably the first time I was able to go, okay, all right, we can write now, kind of thing, because we knew they had that comfortable lead. It was very much like, yeah, this game's kind of done, isn't it? They had 10 men as well. I think they did, didn't they? Was that Rob Holt? Oh, I'm trying to remember, got sent off now. But yeah, that's probably the one time where I've actually been able to sit down and enjoy it. I think even when they've won, it's been a sense over the years of the final whistle is like, it's a relief more than anything. It's like, oh, great, we can have a really good chat about this and write really, fun stuff about this all week. But definitely I don't enjoy them at all. I know I'm in a very privileged position to be at them and reporting on them and covering them and everything and going behind the curtain, as it were. But yeah, they're the 2 games a season that I'm just like, but hey, hopefully there's a big sigh of relief at the final whistle. It's about time. It's about time. The last couple of seasons have not been great. Obviously, away, there was a 2-2 that wasn't bad last year. The home one was just a bit of a mess, wasn't it? There was some questionable goals, but still, I think we're 3-0 down at half time. That was rubbish, and then it kind of came back in the second half. But you just kind of one of those where it's like too little, too late. But yeah, fingers crossed for something so much better. Because yeah, it just makes the whole experience that more interesting and fun. Yeah, the midfield stuff will be interesting if they are missing Odegaard as well as Declan Rice. It's going to be a look. The advantage goes to that midfield. It does. I think you presume they'd have Havertz, Partey, and Jorginho. I guess it would be, wouldn't it? Which look, it's still not a bad midfield, and it's a midfield that will be very well versed in the Arteta way and how to play it. So it's not like they're absolutely stepping out of the norm or anything. But I guess, yeah, you would think that gives a slight advantage in that area if Spurs want to take it, because they'll have a more settled midfield. But there's so much more to the game. You know, there's Saka. Saka always causes problems for Spurs as well. I'd love to see Solanke up there being the pressing forward, scoring goals. Oh, get a Derby debut Derby goal. I know he's technically played at Leicester. It'd be his Derby debut. You know what I mean? That would be wonderful if he could play, start, score, and just make a huge impact. That would be incredible. And yeah, like I said in, I think probably the last video, it's just one of those bit of a fork in the road games where I feel like if Spurs can get something really good out of it, even a very positive draw, but I still would love a win, I think it pushes their season on in a whole kind of direction they really want it to go into. Whereas I think they lose, and especially if it's a bad performance, I think it's just this kind of just question marks start to really seep out. There's a lot of games coming up. They're so quick now, the games. I love, this is what I love. While I might not love the North London Derby, I love as a reporter this next stage where I've got a game every 3 days coming thick and fast. And I really love this because there's no time to think. You've just straight on to the next one. And even if there is an iffy performance or result, you kind of like moving on. But yeah, some momentum would be great as well. So yeah, it'd be some really interesting kind of matchups you'd imagine in the game, and also who he picks in certain positions. You know, does Kulusevski start in the midfield again? Does he go with that midfield that's actually probably worked the best out of 3 games, has been Maddison, Basuma and Kulusevski? Does he go with that again, Postecoglou? Or do you put Sarr in for his mobility? Do you put Bentancur in for his little bit extra experience? Ultimately, you need some players that can play around the press, because Arsenal will probably try to press again. There was one game where they sat back, I can't remember which one it was in the last couple of seasons, and pick Spurs off. So they kind of do mix it up at times, but mostly they will press. And then up front, you know, if Solanke's fit, do you go Son, Solanke, and you know, who's the other player? Is it Odegaard? Is it Johnson? Is it Kulusevski if he doesn't play in the midfield? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know how people would like to go. Kind of, you know, I think obviously Johnson coming on, having a decent impact at Newcastle is a kind of a big thing for him. And Odegaard, kind of a bit of a agent of chaos. You know, we haven't seen the end product yet that he can bring, but he could go in there and cause all kind of problems, and especially in a derby atmosphere in the crowd, that could be a part. Defence, you'd imagine, is pretty settled as long as there's no international break injuries coming back, and as long as Mickey van der Ven's fit. But yeah, midfield and attack are probably the 2 areas I'm intrigued to see kind of what he does and what he goes for. But also, potentially, a strong bench to change it as it goes on, which maybe Arsenal won't have. I think Gabriel Jesus is supposed to be back. Some Arsenal fans thinking that's a bad thing. We'll see. I mean, obviously, Havertz has kind of been playing as more attacking player for them. He probably is going to have to come back into a deeper role. Yeah, there's loads of different aspects to this game, which, are going to be very interesting. And Arsenal will wear their away. I saw this earlier. It's just popped up to the side, actually. Arsenal will wear their away kit in the North London Derby. It's the first time in 38 years because the home kit has too much white on it this time, and the kits could clash. Is that a black kit? I feel like it is. Let me just have a look. Yes, it is a black kit. So yeah, that'll be something different. Hey, maybe you need something different to change the theme that has been there. Right, let's go into a Q&A and see what we've got in here. Okay. Oh, that's good. There's not a question. Someone's saying they love the section about players who had left. I did last video. I was hoping people might like that. It was a bit different. Okay. Zach Bash or BA Shaw 8003 asks, I'm a Tottenham fan from the United States. In the US sports media and media and players celebrate free agency in sports like the NBA, NFL and MLB. Fans know these players aren't free, but teams don't have to give up players' money or draft picks in order to sign a desired player. Can you speak on why free agent signings aren't more common in the global soccer football market? Why are these types of signings typically negatively viewed as a cheap option? Yeah, it's just a different thing. It is, and it is, yeah, no, you know, big NFL fans, so you do get a lot of kind of trades and free kind of moves essentially, which they're free in name, but they're not in actual nature. And yeah, in football it still happens. I wouldn't say it's always seen as a negative thing. I do think sometimes players just naturally get to the end of a contract and they agree one with a club, and they're brought in. Yeah, it's. I mean, was it Ivan Perisic? Ivan Perisic, I think, was a free transfer, wasn't he? And he was a good signing for Spurs. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that negative. Maybe loan, when people are loaned, it's seen as a bit more of a negative, as a cheaper option. But yeah, I don't know if I entirely agree with that. I can understand why it's less common is purely because of the money involved in signing up to new deals. Although we did just speak about Sergio Reguilon, he's quite a good example of how some players will see out contracts. And I mean, in the NFL, there are players that sometimes will sit out an entire season just to wait to get the right deal. And it kind of is something that you do see occasionally in football. Like Danny Rose did it at Spurs. Hugo Lloris essentially did it. I don't think he would have kind of chosen to be that way, but that was the way it worked out. And who knows, Sergio Reguilon could end up doing that. That's an interesting question. But I'm not sure if I see. I just don't think the level of free agent players in football is usually to the same standard as you see people in American sports reach free agency. Maybe that's what it is. What else we got? Okay. Steve Shea 392 asks, what do you think are David Pleat's reaction to Levy's response to Orih's charity memoir? He said, so David Pleat's memoir, which is kind of in memory of his wife, it's being written, and part of the profits are going towards motor neuron disease research and finding a cure. And his quotes were, I think it was an interview with The Telegraph, Steve's put them here, I'm sure these are the right quotes. They're not going to sell it there, that was in the club shop. Something to do with it not being through the club's official publisher. I asked Daniel if I could have a room there to launch it and do a presentation. He said he'd get back to me. I've not heard anything. It's funny. Arsenal gave Bob Wilson a seat for life. They're a classy club, Arsenal. Me, I was told I can get a ticket at Spurs subject to availability. I think there was a little bit more after that. So there's probably two aspects to this. I'm going to divide them into two. The book part, I actually have some experience on this because way back in the day, many years ago, I did like a silly, fun diary type book about a season at Tottenham Hotspur. This was before I reported on them. This was when I was just a news reporter, but it was just like as a Spurs fan, right? A diary of a season. It was a Martin Joel season. And I asked, and I think the publishers asked back then, could it be sold in the club shop? And the answer was no. And it was for exactly those reasons. It wasn't through like an official club publisher. And that was why. So I know there's a charity element to this one, so which kind of slightly puts it in different territory. But what I would say is, only from experience, there's a consistency there in that is just what they do. But in the other half of the quote, yeah, I mean, why can't he have a room to do a presentation? There's absolutely no reason that shouldn't happen. I don't know whether there's anything critical about the club in it or not. I don't know. I haven't seen a copy of it. I'd imagine it'd be quite interesting. He's a very kind of long and interesting career, David Pleat, and you know, played his part at Spurs even in recent years. Obviously, he was there as a manager, he was there as a caretaker manager a couple of times, but even in recent years as like a kind of like a consultant scout. Dele Alli was definitely one of his. It was talk Jan Vertonghen maybe was as well. And a couple of others. I remember that he was trying to push for Jared Bowen when Spurs signed Jack Clark, which, you know, looking back on it, if they signed him instead, that would have been a big one. So, yeah, I mean, that's daft. And about tickets, yeah, I don't know. I think you should look after your former people, of course, and former managers and things like that. But, I mean, technically, I guess he's been employed by the club. Yeah, so there's two sides to it. There's definitely a side to it that's a bit like, you know, look, if Spurs can find a way to shoot themselves in the foot through PR, they'll find it. They always do. I'll always say this in my videos and in my writing. Spurs probably, they do a lot of good things, but I think they also do a lot of daft things that make them look even worse to people. I mean, take recently, for example, we had the story that came out about, wasn't it raising objections in the UEFA meeting about the reductions on away ticket prices in Europa League games. Which, look, that was all the story was. I think Spurs said, look, there was no vote or anything like that. There wasn't anything kind of denying the raising of objections, that they were one of the few clubs, but they denied that there was any vote or anything like that, or that they voted against them or that, which is fine. But even that, and not thinking that if that was the case, was what happened, raising objections in the meeting, that might get out. Other clubs might say something. And of course, that doesn't look great when your own fans have got 4 trips this season in Europe and, you know, this format will be there for the future and will have to pay more if their thing came in. But like I say, I do think they have a habit of shooting themselves in the foot from a PR perspective. I would love someone to be in a position just to, when they're about to do stuff, just go, just no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Think about this for a second. Wait. Don't do that. I would love someone to be in a position that comes just to say that. Because, like I say, they do a lot of really good charity stuff. The foundation's a brilliant kind of thing within Spurs. I've been to, in the past, when I used to do kind of community interviews and stuff like that with players, you could see the work that the foundation does in the community. And it's brilliant. There's a load of good stuff. But they also do stuff, obviously, we know about. There's football decisions that have been right and wrong. Management decisions that have probably been more wrong than right as well. But yeah, PR terms, they've got an amazing ability to shoot themselves in the foot. And that's the thing. Look, the other part of the interview was David Pleat, was about how they're moving to, he said he was told, we're moving to data stuff. It's not about eyes and ears now. And of course it still is. It is. You know, we know that. I've seen interviews with people that are massive data people. And Rob McKenzie is a chief scout at Spurs now. Actually, I think he's got a new title. I think there's technically a new chief scout. I think his title is something more than that. But I've read interviews with him in the past where he said, I'm massively into data, but I don't just rely on the data. Of course you don't. You have to also look at it with your eyes and ears. And I'm sure... look with your eyes and ears, look with your eyes. And I'm sure there's points in as well when a scout who's into data stuff will also just happen to be at a match looking at one player and they'll see another player. So I'm sure there's a little aspect of being annoyed that he's no longer acquired, David Pleat, but also, and he's a very good scout, and I can understand. I don't think he'll stop. I think he's 79 maybe, and I would imagine that whoever picks him up will get a very good scout for young players kind of coming through. But I do think there's probably more to all of it. But definitely, yeah, of course, Spurs, there's some PR elements within that. They didn't need to do it like that whatsoever. What else we got? Let's have a look. What are you, Lewis Rayardo 8817 asks, what are you looking forward to the most this season, Ali? Just hopefully a really entertaining season. I want lots of good football. That's what we've called for in the last few seasons. So I want that as a bare minimum. And I want to see a long run in a cup competition. I want to see Spurs win silverware. Of course I do. I just want Spurs to be the club they can be, rather than the club that threatens to be something and just hasn't really been. So that's it. I would say the football that I'm hoping, as the Postecoglou system continues to just be part of the way, the DNA, if you excuse the cliche. But I just want to see lots of great football. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Matt Spencer asks, don't we have cover at left back with Donnelly or another youngster did some time there in pre-season? Jamie Donnelly went off to Leyton Orient. Max Robson, I think, played there briefly, but I would imagine he'll only come in if there's a bit of a bind for the club, because he's not really part of the first team setup. I can't say this name because I think if I say it slowly it sounds a little bit rude. But they ask, I wonder if Andrew's plan is to start Porro Destiny a little less and let Spence play Premier League games and use the other two in Europe, but maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, I'd be surprised. There may be the odd game when it's like they really need a big result in Europe, and maybe they'll play them in that, and then if the game in the Premier League is like, let's say, a home one against a team they really should beat regardless of who they're playing, then maybe. But I wouldn't imagine it will be a frequent thing, I don't think. Mixney8028 asks, do you think Ange will try to incorporate Dragusin in the lineup versus Arsenal? He was one of the few who had a really good game versus Newcastle. With Van der Ven back, it would seem harsh to leave him out. I think if Van der Ven and Romero are fit, I think they start. I think Dragusin knows that he's going to get a lot of starts this season because he's going to play every cup match, every European game, and I think there'll be injuries. I think he'll play, but I think in the North London derby, I presume he'd play Romero and Van der Ven if they're both fit. Farming and Stuff One asks, you always say you're just a guy on a sofa in front of a camera talking, as simple as that. Brings me to my question. Have you ever watched the Tom Hardy film Lock, which essentially is one guy on screen the whole time? Regards, Duncan. Good luck with the marathon. I haven't, actually. I really like Tom Hardy. I think he's terrific. Seen a lot of his movies, but funny enough, that is one I haven't seen. So I shall watch that. I will. Ivan Harlukin asks, or says, the Spence decision is ridiculous. Austin's 25. He's never going to get experience without playing. If they think he'll never be good enough, why give him another 5-year contract? I agree. I don't understand a 5-year deal if he's not going to play. So we'll see whether he plays in Europa or the Carabao Cup, but I think he has to play. Otherwise, absolutely, I agree. It makes a mockery of the whole process, really. Die PYC1 asks, as in DAI, he's not asking me to die, I hope. With multiple club ownership becoming the norm, is this something the club has explored? I don't know. They used to, didn't they? ENIC used to have a few clubs. Was it Slavia Prague and Rangers? I feel like there was maybe a Turkish team as well. I can't remember. Or a Greek team. I can't remember. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They certainly used to. It'd be interesting. That's a question for people. Let me know in the comments. How would you react if they did a bit like City have done, and you had clubs around the world that had Hotspur as their second name? How would you react to that? Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. Question for next video asks Roberto Villegas Vincent 404. I get the rules for UEFA A and B list. My question is, who exactly is on the B list and who could potentially be rotated in if need be or just for cover? I get it's anyone under 21 who's been at the club for more than 2 years, but I'm a bit ignorant of who that is at the club that may have to cycle in and try to impress. Good question. That is, and it's especially good because some people have been asking me, why is Mikey Moore not in the squad? He is on the B list. So Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire, I think, is on there now. yeah, pretty much anyone in that under-21s group, really. The development group can come through and play, and they'll be on that list. The idea in the future will be that Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall will be able to do that after, so technically the 26-27 season. They'll both be on that, be able to be on that B list. This is what I mean about, while the squad has been mismanaged in recent years to the fact that they've got no outfield senior club trained player, they are doing things to prevent that for the future. Things are in the works that will fix that. We will see club trained players at Spurs in the years to come. So yeah, it's those kind of players. Mikey Moore and Will Lancashire are probably the two you'll see the most. A lot of the other players kind of went out. I mean, Alfie Dorrington, there's another one potentially. He could be in there. He could come into the squad. Maybe Max Robson. I'm kind of ruling him out maybe a little bit. If there's an injury crisis, then who knows? He could make his way on there as well. And, you know, who knows what he does with there's some very young talents in there as well. Like Janai Byfield is one. I'm killing the pronunciation of that. I think it is just Janai Byfield. Or not Junai Byfield. Yeah, there's a few very talented young players in the under 18s that I think we'll be talking about this season. I don't want to. Janai Byfield, I'm only mentioning because he played in a pre-season game, the Cambridge United behind closed doors friendly early in the summer. So I've kind of already spoken about him. But there's a few others in that under 18s crop that I'm not going to big up at the moment because always wary of kind of going too much on very, very young players, like 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds that have still got a way to go. I know we're doing that with Mikey Moore, but he's had first team exposure. But we'll talk about them as the season goes on. What else we got? Dr. Gonzo Soccer Genius asks, a question for you, being connected to the inner sanctum of Tottenham, have you heard anything regarding their, as in the board's, commitment to Ange's rebuild of the team? Further, any word of their pleasure or displeasure of Ange's plans performance so far? I don't anything negative. Not like I have any kind of access to the board at all. That would be great, because not only would you hear more stuff, but you'd actually be able to say, I could be that person going, no, don't do that. But obviously I kind of deal with a lot of people that will deal with them, and I haven't heard anything negative. I mean, commitment to the rebuild, you can see the amount of players they've let go, and even things like doing a deal with Tongi for him to head off and stuff like that. That's all commitment. The amount of players that headed out the door. Yeah, we would have loved to see more come in the window, of course. There's a fair bit of money spent overall. Of course, you can kind of take away some of the funds they got back, but I think a lot of what they've done to the squad is more a Postecoglou squad than I think any other squad has been, a Conte squad or a Mourinho squad or anything like that. So I think that's showing their commitment to that rebuild. And I haven't heard any displeasure, and I still go by the fact that I think the first three performances have all been quite okay, decent. I think they've just been let down by sloppy moments at the front and back, and I think that will get fixed. Emre Sonny 8847 asks, how would the Ange system look like with Kane as a striker? Oh, that would be amazing. It would be different, because I don't think he'd be able to press like you would want him to, but I think you work around that, and there'd be a ridiculous amount of goals scored. What else we got? Philip Paul Peters asks, thanks for the video. I made a small contribution to your collection. I hope it helps. Thank you very much. What shoes do you use for running? Got them over there. Some Puma ones that seem to have very good reviews for running. So I got them. They weren't that expensive. Altair 8598. What would be your top 5 Premier League grounds other than Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to go to as a journalist? I guess you'd be too diplomatic to nominate the worst. Well, I can say the worst in terms of I don't enjoy it. It's an all right stadium. It is the Emirates, and that's only for the reasons I said earlier. Is that I just don't enjoy the games, and Spurs very much often lose there. So that's probably why I don't like that. The London Stadium isn't among my favourites just because you're so far from the pitch. In terms of the best, the top ones, I'll put one that kind of straddles both is St James's Park. It's got a brilliant atmosphere. The press seats are really good location. You're right behind the dugouts. But if it rains, you're stuffed. I've had a couple of times I've been there, it's been a monsoon, and I've actually had to move inside because my laptop would have been destroyed. It's not good. They have these like plastic covers over the seat, which are great in terms of, at least if it's spitting, it covers your laptop, but you also can't really see. Look, I'm very wary. As soon as I'm saying that, I'm moaning about something that is a free seat, so I'm not going to go down that route. Best Premier League grounds, always like the more traditional ones. So Goodison Park, I like. What else have we had that I really like? I mean, some of the away trips have been cool. Of course, the Bernabeu and the Camp Nou. Oh, sorry, that's 5 Premier League grounds. Goodison Park I always liked. St James's Park, I like the atmosphere. I quite like Brentford's one, the G-Tech, actually. There was just something about it that I quite liked. Villa Park is a real traditional one. What else we got? Enjoyed the Kenilworth Road experience. That felt like kind of my days covering below Premier League in the past. I'll stick with those. There's probably loads I haven't even properly thought about. I don't enjoy the trek up to Burnley when I know they're not in the Premier League anymore, but I never enjoyed that journey. That was more about the journey than the stadium. I'm trying to think of any others. Stamford Bridge. It's a strange view. Again, it's a close to the pitch view, because that's how my experience is kind of rated. Is how good my view is of things and how I can analyse the match and all this sort of stuff. Stamford Bridge, you've got a bit of a letterbox one. Again, similar, like Selhurst Park's got a great atmosphere at times, but the press box, if you're in the second row, you have to stand up. You can't actually see. It's all completely different things. I'm going to do one more and then I've got to head off. Actually, I'll do a couple more. Real Human Being asks, are you planning to upload these on Spotify by any chance? Because people do ask this. I'm not. I'm not at this current point in time, because I also do a podcast, Golden Guest Talk Tottenham, so I don't, and that's my work. I don't want to compete with my work, and that's what that would be if I put it on Spotify. What else have we got? Zorba the Greek says, how do you get time to train for a marathon? It's amazing how generous people have been. This shows how important the battle against cancer is, as well as everyone values your presence in our community. That's very nice. I didn't realise it was going to be a compliment. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have read it. Heartwarming stuff. Social media isn't all bad after all. Thanks as always. Oh, I see. I wonder why is that flagged that up as a question? It's because how did you get time to train for a marathon? How do you get time? Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time fitting it all in, but we're going to try to do it. Right, that's it, I think. Someone's asked, because I've said in the marathon, I probably will try to, I wasn't planning to, but because people have been so amazing, and obviously many of them Spurs fans, I was thinking about actually running it in a Spurs shirt this time. And some people gave me good advice that the retro one's apparently not great for that sort of thing. And Ben Hill has asked here, will you be wearing a full home or away kit? Definitely won't be doing a full kit. We know what people who do that are called, so I won't be doing that. I haven't decided what one. I might even grab an old shirt that I've got rather than wearing a newer one. We'll see. I'd imagine, because I don't really want to buy the really expensive, stupidly expensive elite ones, like 120 quid or something, 125 quid. But I would imagine that if you're doing a run, that's probably more breathable and better. I don't know. So I might just fish out one of my ones. I've got a bag somewhere that's got all of my old Spurs shirts in it. People might remember I say when I play five-a-side football each week, I always buy a training top each season. That's what I wear to kick around in. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll see. Right, time to head off. Hopefully that was interesting. Just a little thing to keep going with the international break. Thank you for all your questions. And of course, thank you so much for all the donations towards my marathon efforts. And it does push me on. It massively does. And as I said, I think earlier, I will pop it in the top of the comments, the link again, if anyone does want to donate. It would be, of course, massively appreciated. But it's not for me. It's for an incredible cause. It really is. And if we can do anything to expedite the destroying of that horrible group of diseases, that would be amazing. Right, time to head off. Hopefully my next video, which will probably be Monday, will start with a really happy face and noise rather than a sigh. Please let it be a happy face. Right, time to head off. As always, just thank you very much. But also stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.